Hello, my name's Kieran Jenkins and I'm the director of Prom Fever.
Hello, my name's Annabel Harkness and I'm the producer of Prom Fever.
Once upon a time, in August 2020, my very good friend Holly Ann Catherine White, to give her full name, sent me a link to NIFA's website, and I found it super interesting. I really wanted to sort of lean more into my directing career. I've been an actor for a long time. The type of people, I think the caliber of the experiences they're offering really spoke to me as well. Like, you ask anyone that knows me, I've been counting down the days to start this course, like since August last year. So I'm just sort of ready to go all the time. I'm happy. Are you happy to be here?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, no, because there's so, like, especially in this past year, there's so few opportunities coming up. So I did a little bit of research into it, just looking at reviews and looking at what they've done and stuff like that. And I thought, that might be a good thing to be a part of. So I think I had an interview similar to you, interview/audition. Since then, I obviously have signed up for the Set Ready course, which so far I've really enjoyed it. It's been a challenge, but it's been good fun. And I am also an ambassador for NIFA, so for, I guess, kind of like representative of Northern Ireland. So
you're just the spokesperson of Northern Ireland.
Yeah, I don't know so much about that. I think I just kind of, I think the main reason I got an ambassador role was because I spoke up about having a worry. I'm part of 2 national groups, and I noticed more with the other one that it's very kind of England centric. When NIFA sent out kind of little forms to fill out, you had the option to critique them and give them advice or give them stuff that you wish they would improve on. And I just said I hadn't seen it in NIFA, but I was worried about it, was that people who don't live in England can be forgotten about very easily by national groups. And I just kind of wanted to reinforce that we're still here and we'd kind of like to be just equally as involved as people in England, even though we're further away. Oh, probably just doing it, you know, because if I'm honest, I'm easy to please. I'm only 18, so I've only ever done 1 short film before, with the BFI Film Academy, and I directed it. It was called Rose. It's my pride and joy. I'm excited to have the opportunity to work with other young people to create something that's fun and exciting, and yeah, it's a challenge and we need to work hard, but we also get to meet new people.
The concept alone excites me. I think when we were all coming up with it on day one, the word heist was like sort of very prominent, which I was very excited about. It's one of my favorite subgenres. It has so much room for like style, and I think new shows like La Casa de Papel do a great job of like injecting a lot of heart into that despite the stylization. So when this film sort of turned into what it's turned into, this sort of coming of age sort of tale under the guise of a heist, I was just really excited to, and I'm still really excited to bring that story out into the public eye. I think especially after the year we've had, we need more feel-good movies.
Yeah, I keep on seeing like films that are being brought out that are about like pandemics and plagues and like end of the world stuff that have been brought out in this past year, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to watch that. We're living that right now, you know. So yeah, no, I definitely agree, getting that kind of like feel good, positive, slightly chaotic. Yeah, that too.
I want them to see a film that, despite, I think any film that is being made, like I think a lot of new independent movies we're going to see now are inevitably going to be affected by COVID. It's such a major historical thing that we're living through and that we've lived through, that it will be impossible for like anything artistically speaking that comes out of it not be affected by that. People will see with this, I think they'll see the effect COVID had on the story, i.e. like that kind of underlying message, but I don't think it's so in your face. I think people will see it for what it is. I want people to see it for what it is. a light-hearted coming-of-age comedy with a big heist element and just like a lot of heart. I'm in love with all of the characters. I'm in love with the actors that play all of the characters. And yeah, I have a vision for a really feel-good time, like something akin to like your Ferris Bueller's Day Off, or even Harry Potter. Like we all fell in love with Harry and Ron and Hermione because they started off as kids. Do you know what I mean? Like, so very often a good protagonist or a protagonist we identify with, it's so easy to do through like the eyes of a child. I mean, even Frodo, even the hobbits look like children.
Yeah. I think that's the vision for our film as well, is that they do kind of grow up a little bit, even though it's only short, and it's over one night, but we still get to see them grow up a little bit. That's what my vision would be personally, is just we get to see our characters grow up a little bit, as we've all had to do in this past year. No matter what age we are, we've all had to grow up. So yeah.
I think to a degree I'm still finding that out. I know that a lot of the things that I write, all the things that I bring to a character I portray, all the things that I try and craft when I am in the director's seat, that is sort of shown through the eyes of like past experience, I guess. I think that informs a lot about what I do. I like simple stories. I'm a big fan of like something that has big stakes to the characters, but not necessarily big stakes to the world. The instinct when you're getting started as a filmmaker or a young filmmaker, like you've got your first chance to do a proper thing with like really nice equipment and really like all the bells and whistles. You want to put everything you've ever wanted to put in all your movies into that one thing. But I think there's something to be said about stepping back and maybe saying, okay, no, that's all good. I'll get around to all of that eventually. But what's that one thing I want to do, and do I want to do it well? I don't think that quite answers. I mean, in terms of the inspiration behind that, I think I'm a fan of like the underdog.
At the time, I hate being challenged, but I'm not much of a quitter. Like, I like to challenges inspire me in a way, because I like having to think through things and analyze things like this. You know, I've never done producing before, and there has been challenges throughout it. It's being slightly unsure of what exactly my role can be at times, but then that challenge of, right, well then what do I need to do to fix that? And I've been able to fix it. I've been able to talk to people, and I've been able to understand, right, this is exactly my role, and I know that I'm doing the right thing now. So I like finding solutions, and I like finding challenges so that I can create solutions. So I think, yeah, no, definitely challenges are something that inspires me. You know, I've had a love for film and theatre since I was specifically actually more so theatre, because I love the atmosphere within theatre. And I went to see The Lion King when I was 10. And ever since then, I've been obsessed with performance and film and art. And I expressed from that edge, like, this is what I want to do full time. But people just told me no, like, you know, you won't want to do that. There's no money in it. There's no success in it. You know, like everybody I met, even people who I wasn't necessarily close with, they asked me just in casual conversation, oh, what do you want to do? Oh, film industry, something in the film industry, like producing, directing. Are you sure? That's not really a good idea, you know? And it's like, well, how do you know? You know, you're great respect to secondary school teachers, but you're a secondary school teacher. Like, how do you know what career I can and can't do? You know, I feel like my drive that comes from a challenge comes from just, I was constantly challenged on my career choice. I'm almost like addicted to it. I'm ready for a fight, you know what I mean? I'm ready to be challenged, and I enjoy it. So yeah, I guess that's where that comes from. That's a very long answer, but that's where that comes from. If it's something you truly want to do it. You know, there's no harm in trying.
Cannot get over the fact that you are 18, and not long ago were you 17 either. Do you know what I mean? I feel like that sort of like reaffirms like what I'm trying to say in this film as well. I think like age isn't a restriction on like maturity. Age isn't a restriction on wisdom. Age isn't a restriction on emotional wisdom or maturity.
I would say the only thing that Edge puts the restriction on is opportunity. I feel like more than ever there are more opportunities for young people, but it's still, you say you're 18 and people go, we'll get, you're kind of overlooked, I think, sometimes when you're so young. But that's why like companies like NIFA are so good, is because they give young people an opportunity to prove themselves, and that's what every young person is looking for. So yeah. I think we're actually quite similar in our approach to work. Like, I think we haven't had a big argument yet, because we both have the approach of work hard, play hard kind of thing. Like, we know when to work and we know when to have fun. And because this is a youth kind of orientated course, a lot of people are more focused on the fun than on the work sometimes. But I think we both have the ability to say, right, we need to knuckle down and get this done, then we can have fun with it, then we can play about with it. And I think that's probably why I don't think we've had a really strong disagreement yet.
I think it's a case of like we've not argued, but like, I mean, I think we've certainly been able to challenge each other on certain things.
Yeah.
Times where you've said like, oh, I think this is the right angle. I think like, oh, can we have a conversation about that?
Yeah, because I think it's because we both have a common goal, and we both have a common approach to that goal. So I think, in terms of the details, we might disagree and think that there's better ways of doing certain things. But overall, because we both are kind of on the same track, it just works well. And we've been on the same kind of track since the beginning. Kieran has always been, so communication is key. Like, if you are annoyed about something, or if you do think something's wrong, don't sit and just wallow in it. And I think that that's one of the reasons that I think we do work really well together. So
it's always been a big thing. Like, if you don't communicate, then like, I have this conversation with like so many people, and it's a case of like, I just might get emotional about it. You're human, you will. Everyone does. Hold something in, if you let it sit there long enough, it will start to turn septic, and then stuff like resentment comes out, and then like working relationships can be strained. Like, clear, concise communication is just we can never go wrong.
Kind of missing out on the majority of sixth form in college and stuff. Like, that was a completely mind-blowing event, and it just completely changed the past 2 school years, really, you could say. But in terms of my role in this production, I don't know how else it would be done, because I'm in a different country, and I'm very much doing a role that means I'm working a lot online, and I'm doing a lot of documents, and I would be calling people over the phone a lot anyway. So I feel like for me, there wouldn't be a lot of change. But for you as director, like, in terms of your relationships with the actors, I feel like you'd be far more qualified to say there's been a lot of changes as a director because of COVID.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's challenging. I think obviously we've all gotten used to like doing auditions on Zoom now, self tapes, rehearsals on Zoom, etc. And like we've gotten used to it. Obviously, everyone will always say the preference of like, there is something to be said about rehearsing in the same room and like sharing the same space, whether it's stage or screen. But having said that, it's just another hurdle to go over. It just means we have to work that little bit harder. I'm very confident that with the team we have and the dedication that they all have, by the time we get to set, I just don't see us having any worries, because everyone's been so like on it. I genuinely don't think I've worked with like a whole team that like wasn't close friends of mine, that completely worked into sync with each other. I'm just blown away by the level of professionalism. So I don't think we've got a huge amount to worry about. I think a good producer or a good director is only as good as the team that they have.
I hate that question, Kieran. I hate that, and let me tell you why. Because it changes day to day, week to week, month to month. It's never the same. I can tell you my favourite comfort film. I know you well enough that I know you're going to hate it. Well, maybe not. Well, we'll see. 2005 Pride and Prejudice with Keira Knightley in it. That is my go-to comfort film. No one can tell me any different. The cinematography.
that is okay. Like, as a film by itself, it's very well made. It was super iconic at the time it came out, super popular, one of the highest grossing movies of that year. Just not my genre.
Oh, see, then there are films that I've watched and I will never forget. It was The Riot Club. And the acting, oh my goodness, that's the only film I've ever had nightmares over. The horror films never bothered me, I love them. But see a film that like questions social standards or like human behavior, I love them, but I never watch them more than once because it'll make you think too much, and it just,
I was the first person to say the word heist. I didn't suggest we should do a heist film originally. It was interesting until I was going around saying, "Oh, Kieran, what's your favorite like genre film?" And I was like, "Oh, I think I'm going to go with heist." And then that sparked up a little murmur, and then we moved on. But it was after that, like, heist kept coming up. And then when we landed on the heist film, I was like, "Oh, I did not mean to open that can of worms, but I'm happy we did." The more we've stayed with it, like, it's still there and it's still very much part of the film because that's what the characters do. But like, it's kind of soaked up into the film. It's allowed the film to become something else while still like the film has soaked up all the heist stuff in its sponge, and it's still there, but it's not like at the forefront of what's going on. Like, we're in what we're doing, but really what's happening and what we care about is like the characters and their journey.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like an examination. It's like a microcosm of society, all in these like characters, and they just happen to be doing a heist. My favorite project I've ever done was actually my first theatre performance outside of school, outside of GCSE drama and the likes. My sister sent me a Facebook post that was looking for young people for a production of The Sound of Music. And I thought, you know what, I'll plow on ahead and go to the audition. I was so nervous. At this point, I had no singing training and I was auditioning for a musical, hilarious. And I was just having so much fun because I didn't put pressure on myself. I said, like, this is my first audition outside of school. If I don't get it, who cares? I got it. So, and then that's when I started to panic. I was like, oh no, what if I'm not good enough, blah, 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 blah. But I had such a blast doing that production. And I was working with literally, I think the youngest in the chorus was like 4 or 5 years old. And I was the oldest by like 2 years. So I was just hanging out with these like, most of the kids were like kind of 5 to 10 years old, and then there were a few in their teens playing the older characters. And it was just so much fun, just these little kids just constantly running around and screaming, and it was just such good fun, and we got to learn dances. And I think it's kind of glorified in my head. This was my first theatre production, so it's your first is always your kind of best time when it comes to performances. So yeah, no, definitely it would be The Sound of Music with theatre in Newton Abbey.
I spent like a lot of my, I think most of my like time at school was so like unhappy. I was such an unhappy person at school because I had to go in and have like the majority of my day was stuff that I just wasn't interested in doing, or I wasn't interested in exploring, or I just couldn't connect with that. Like, all I was thinking about was like acting and stuff, or making stuff, or like how films work, or how like TV shows work, radio, whatever, right? Like, just like it was all I thought about. So like, ever since I became a man and was able to like make my own choices and like sort of make my own way, I've just been like, whatever opportunities come my way, be that like drama school, be that peer productions, be that NIFA, I grabbed the opportunity with both hands because I'm just so happy and grateful to be doing what it is I want to do.